Welcome back to College Football Addiction. Adam Carricker of the Carricker Chronicles. Man, it's been a little while. How you doing, bud?
Dude, life is glorious. Both of our football teams are undefeated.
There's not really much more you can complain about. And I'm not a huge NFL guy, but the Bucks, I live in Tampa. The Bucks have won on back-to-back game-winning drives as underdogs on the road too. So yeah, this has been a heck of a start to the season for me, just like in all aspects. So not a lot to complain about on my end either.
Yeah, not at all. And hopefully Husker fans don't have anything to complain about come Saturday evening. So
yeah, let's talk about the game a little bit. Michigan coming in, and to me, I think if I was to ask this to anybody who covered or was a fan of their team, they would answer with their team. So I'll take the other position, and I'll say that this game feels a little bit more desperate for Michigan to me because they already have the loss to Oklahoma, and they didn't really look great in that one. And so if somebody was asking me, hey, who is this game more important for? I think I'd probably lean Michigan more. Not that I'm necessarily picking them, but it feels kind of like, man, if they don't win this one, look at the rest of their schedule. Like, what kind of year will they really have? But being the Nebraska guy, I'll let you take the other position and tell me why this is more important for Nebraska.
You know, it's interesting because I think I agree with you. Now, if you
I'm just going to make you take that side.
Yeah, if you ask most Nebraska people, it feels, I don't want to say like the Super Bowl, but it's like, man, this is an opportunity to really prove ourselves, get validation. I do think Cincinnati is better than most people believe, who we beat in the first game. Then you play two teams who aren't the toughest opponents in the competition in the world. But you go out and you do what you're supposed to do to them, as opposed to, like we were chatting before the show, you win like 34-7. Okay. No, you won 68-0 and 59-7. But at the end of the day, you can only prove so much with that. Now you have a team, a blue blood, a team who's ranked, a team who mollywopped and curb stomped Alabama in the bowl game and then beat Ohio State again and won a national title 2 years ago. Who knows if Michigan is as good as they've been, but they're still going to win a lot of games. They're still really good. So you beat a team like that and you go 4-0 into your bye week as you start Big Ten play. It feels really important and a big deal. And if you lose it, it's kind of like, here we go again. You know, you get your hopes up, you get excited, you start sipping the Kool-Aid, and then you spill the glass all over the place. But if you're Michigan, you make a great point. Now, all of a sudden, you're 2 years removed from a national title. And as happy as you were about the last two games last year, you weren't thrilled about the season as a whole. And now you start out 2-2 with a true freshman quarterback. You're kind of, it feels probably a little bit more important to Michigan fans, but Nebraska fans may see it differently.
Yeah. It's starting there with the true freshman quarterback, Bryce Underwood. Obviously looked really good against Central Michigan, not so good against Oklahoma, which going into Norman and playing against Brent Venables, most quarterbacks wouldn't look good, whether they're a fifth-year senior or true freshman. So I get it. But just thoughts on how Nebraska will look to play him. I mean, Michigan is obviously going to want to run the ball here and not put this all on his arm. What does Nebraska's defensive attack look like?
I think they're going to put 8,000 to 30,000 guys in the box every single play. When you've got the number one pass defense in the country, and who knows if we'll finish number one in the country, but right now, number one pass defense in the country, you're facing a quarterback, true freshman quarterback, worst quarterback rating in all of FBS 2 weeks ago versus Brent Venables in Oklahoma. So there's some grace to be given there. But when you're the number one pass rated defense in the country, yet you're 107th when it comes to your run stopping grade, according to Pro Football Focus in the country, and you're playing Michigan, who has a true freshman quarterback who's completing 57% of his passes, only had a couple of touchdown passes on the year, can make plays with his legs. Michigan wants to run the ball. Michigan wants to be a bully ball. And this hasn't been talked about enough. Michigan's least strong, I'll put it this way, position group on the entire team is their wide receiver core. They're graded as the 84th best wide receiver core in the country when it comes to route running. And they're not phenomenal out there as far as being explosive and scary. So if I'm Nebraska, I'm loading up on the box, especially we've only got two guys listed at 300 pounds on the entire defensive depth chart. So we're a little lighter up there. So you got to get more guys in the box. You're going to have to stunt. You're going to have to blitz. I expect to see more four-man line than we've seen so far this year. I guarantee John Butler, the D coordinator, was not showing his cards for good reason. But that's what I'm doing if I'm Nebraska's defense. I'm saying, hey, true fresh, you throw to those guys and you come after our number one pass defense in the country, and you're going to have to beat us that way.
Yeah. What for maybe the casual fan, I know Nebraska fans that have tuned into all 180 minutes will know the answer to this, but just my intrigue level is up with seeing what Tony White has done in just 2 games at Florida State. How have you been surprised, good, bad, indifferent? But what has stood out to you the most about the changes that Nebraska had to make on the defensive side and how well they've paid off or not paid off? Just thoughts there.
There hasn't been a ton of surprises coming into the season. We knew we were lighter. We knew we were, it's probably the most athletic defense we've had in 10 years. Now, lighter, athletic, fast. I've even used the word explosive with the second level of our defense, which is weird to use with defensive guys, but they're explosive athletic guys. When you think about Vincent Shavers, Dawson McCullough, Williams, one area, a lot of these guys were 5-star guys coming out of high school, out of Miami, out of Florida, all over the place. And so coming in, you expected there to be a bunch of stunting. You expected there to be a bunch of blitzing. Now, there's been a lot of man-to-man, which is a little bit different than what Tony White did in the secondary, but that's perfectly fine, especially when you're able to cover like we have been able to. And John Butler, I mean, he had the number 1 pass defense in the world in the NFL for 5 straight years with the Buffalo Bills when he was their secondaries coach, so that's his forte. I haven't been surprised with what I've seen so far. Struggled a little bit to stop the run. What has pleased me, we haven't given up many big plays. 0 plays of 20 yards or more in the air. And I believe only 2 plays of 20 yards. I think 3 plays of 20 yards or more on the ground. That's 1 per game. That's really, really good. So they're not giving up big plays. Just got to stop some of the leakiness, the 7 to 8 to 9 yard plays that happen a little bit more than you would like. And I don't think any of it's been. I think there's just question marks yet to be answered. How are we going to hold up against a big physical team? And how do we do now that it's, hey, this is the team that everybody knows that helmet and what it looks like?
I'll get right back to chatting with Adam, but first I do want to tell you about Sleeper. If you're a Nebraska fan, if you're a Michigan fan watching this, the Sleeper app has a ton of picks for this game. We picked some of them on the Power 2 live on Wednesday afternoon. Whether you're looking for Haynes' rushing yards, whether you're looking for Rayola's passing yards, whether you're looking for Underwood's passing touch, whatever you're looking for, take 2 of them, pair them up, or more if you want to increase your chances at winning more money, up to $1,000. You can win on the Sleeper app by playing the more or less game. That's not all they have, though. Whether you're looking for scores, whether you're looking for updates, whether you're looking to see fans crash out in real time in the comments of the scoring updates, the Sleeper app has it for you. NFL fan, there's eliminator leagues, there's fantasy football. There's a ton of things that you need to go check out on the Sleeper app. And right now, we're going to hook you up. 100% deposit up to $100 if you use our code CFA. Link is in the description. You only have to put the code in if you click on that. Go download the Sleeper app today. You will not regret that you did. Terms and conditions apply. So see Sleeper's terms of use for details. Appreciate Sleeper for their support. Yeah. So now on the other side of the ball, Rayola has been pretty efficient. I understand people will say, oh, competition level and things like whatever. You can only play the team. We were talking about this off air. You can only play the teams that are in front of you. Been pretty efficient. So far, but the strength of Michigan and really their path to a win on the road here will be leaning on their defense, which is continuously good. Like they recruit it really well. They do a good job on that side of the ball. Nobody would doubt that. Thoughts about Nebraska's toughest test to date against a really good defense?
Yeah, this is a good defense, and it starts with their defensive line, probably their strongest position group on the defensive side of the ball. I know Ernest Hausman is the Big Ten's leader in tackles, linebacker, played for Nebraska for a year before he went to Michigan. So they got a lot of guys in that front 7. Their secondary has actually played pretty well so far this year. Nebraska's been very efficient. I mean, they've had a couple of games where they put up over 500 yards, 700 yards of total offense, 68 points, 59 points. You're going to see a better defense this week. One of the things that I've kept my eye on is the red zone efficiency, because we're scoring touchdowns 69% of the time that we get in the red zone, which is actually higher than I thought it would be. It's a little bit of a misnomer when you think about games getting out of hand and games, the score getting away from you a little bit in a good way. And then backups come in and sometimes they do or don't do well. When the starters have been in our first 5 quarters of play versus Cincinnati and versus Akron, we had 3 drives within the opponent's 10-yard line and we came away with 3 points. We were stopped on 4th down one time. We had a fumble another time. Another time we're at the 1-yard line versus Cincinnati. We had a false start and it moves us back from the 1 to the 6. We ended up kicking a field goal. So we cannot leave points on the field if you want to beat Michigan. If you're Michigan, they're looking at it from the perspective of we've got to stiffen up in the red zone because this offense is efficient. They'll move the ball. If they get down there and they can't score points or they walk away with 3 versus 7, that's huge if you're a Michigan guy.
Is there anything Michigan does offensively or defensively? And I know we just talked about their defense in general, but is there any matchup or anything they do specifically, whether it be a player, that has your eye or concerns you the most in this game?
Yeah, them running the ball. I mean, that Michigan's going to run. They have the Big Ten's leading rusher. He's rushed for Justice Haynes for 3 straight games over 100 yards, and that's what they want to do. That's their bread and butter. Their quarterback, Bryce Underwood, just ran for 100 yards last week. So them running the ball, and we have struggled a little bit to consistently stop the run of the ball. It all comes down to that, if I'm being honest with you. Michigan can't run and they have to throw. They're going to be in trouble. If we can't stop them from running, we're going to be in trouble. That is the matchup of the day. And if I was to single out one player a little bit more, it would come down to Bryce Underwood, because if you go back to the Cincinnati game, now Sorsby, the Cincinnati quarterback, I mean, depending on where you look, he's an overall grade of 95.5, which is number 1 in the country for quarterbacks, depending on where you look. He's averaging almost 300 yards a game since he played Nebraska, almost an 80% completion percentage since he played Nebraska. That first game, he only threw for 69 yards, and he had a completion percentage of 52%. But what he did, he almost ran for 100 yards. We could not contain him. He ran for 96 yards. Hardly any of those plays were designed quarterback runs. So if Underwood can break loose, he can get outside the pocket. If we can't contain him and prevent leaky plays, then that specifically could cause problems for Nebraska.
When you think about this game and you think about the matchup, you talked about struggling to stop the run, them running the ball really well. Do you like the matchup at all, or does it concern you, Nebraska's D-line and that front versus Michigan's offensive line?
I don't know that I would use the word concern. We're going to learn a lot. We're going to learn a lot about Nebraska and their ability to actually stop the run, because John Butler has no reason not to play with a full deck. Let me rephrase it. He's been playing with a full deck for him to show his cards this game. Yeah. I kind of said that on purpose as a bad joke. My point is he's gonna put 4 guys down a lot more than he's done. He's going to do different things he hasn't done. He's going to try to confuse Michigan up front. They're bigger, but you can use your speed and athleticism and certain things to your advantage as long as somebody doesn't get out of their lane, doesn't get out of their assignment, because then you create the big gap. Because if you take away Justice Haynes' big runs, his explosive runs, his 3 biggest runs of the year, he's barely averaging 3 yards a carry. So if you're a Nebraska fan, that gives you reason for optimism. It also terrifies you because it means they get explosive runs. Yeah. So to me, that's some of the things that I'd be looking for, especially when it comes to our defense. Like, in going on 11 years of covering Nebraska football, it has never been so easy for me to look at one thing and say that is the single biggest key to it, like it is stopping the run versus Michigan this Saturday.
Give me an X factor on offense for Nebraska. You can't use Raiola.
Oh, okay. No, I was going to go right to Raiola, but I'll take Raiola out of it. Emmett Johnson. Emmett Johnson's a guy who for 3 straight years now has been our best running back. As a redshirt freshman, he came in 4th string. The top 3 guys get hurt. He ends up leading us in rushing. Last year, for whatever reason, he doesn't start. Holgerson becomes the OC. He comes in and he ends up having more receiving and rushing yards in 4 games than most running backs did combined in their entire season in the Big Ten, when you look at some of the guys across the league from Maryland and et cetera. So for me, he's a guy who is clearly our number 1 back. We've got some talented backups, but he's clearly the number 1 back. He's a guy who can block, he can catch, he can run. He's a 3-down back, which isn't always that common anymore in today's day and age of football in general. So if he can find ways to get 3-4 yards a pop, and we can hit him out of the backfield, and we can keep Michigan's defense honest, that'll open up for Dane Keene, Isaiah Hunter, 2 guys who transferred in, who led Kentucky and Cal in several receiving categories, and then Ja'Cory Barney, who probably came back this year. He was the highest graded true freshman wide receiver in the entire country, just behind Jeremiah Smith, no shame there. And he came back to Nebraska, and Michigan struggled with those smaller, quicker, quick twitchy, wiggly wide receivers, and that's what he is. And if Emmett and that offensive line can keep Michigan balanced with a decent run game, then Raiola and the receivers can create some big plays downfield.
I'm going to have you give a prediction here in a second, but first, tell me a little bit about the Character Chronicles, where people can find you, and just a little bit about what you guys do.
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, I've been covering Nebraska sports, Husker sports, predominantly football, but all year round, all Husker sports for going on 11 years. All right. So you can find it at characterchronicles.com. That's characterchronicles.com, or simply go to YouTube, type in Character Chronicles. It's also now going out on the Nebraska section of Sports Illustrated and a bunch of other pretty cool outlets as well. But those are the two easiest places to find it.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I watched your, and I know people tune in for football. I understand that, doing this as well for 365 days a year. I did watch the Jordy Ball interview, and I've seen other stuff you've done too. There is really good stuff out there. And just like getting to talk with her, and one of the best in the sport. And like, that was really cool. And so I certainly would encourage, certainly if Husker fans are not aware, I'm sure many are, but other people too, that just enjoy sports and enjoy kind of the perspective. I thought it's been really good. So I enjoy it. And so hopefully others will too. We will link that in the description. So, all right. I like Nebraska in a close one on this. I think it's low scoring, but I do want to hear what you think happens.
I do think it's going to be lower scoring. I think Nebraska's defense only given up 8 points per game. And even that first game versus Cincinnati, and no, Cincinnati's probably not a national title contender, but they are a dark horse. They're significantly better than they were a year ago. I was standing on the sidelines watching them warm up, and I was like, this is not how I expected them to look. They actually look pretty good. So they're significantly better. How much better? I don't know. 6-6, 10-2, somewhere in the middle. We'll see. But they only gave up 17 points to Cincinnati, who has been on fire since. So I do think they can limit Michigan's scoring. I don't want to say it might be a little bit of a bend but don't break type defense, but I could see a little bit of that. Nebraska, they can move the ball. It all comes down to, do we punch it in, we get in the red zone, or do we get stuffed, or do we have to live on field goals? I am going to go 24-21. So I'm taking the under here, and I'm going to go Nebraska. And here's what I will say. This isn't like win it all or win at all costs Super Bowl type deal. But if you're a Michigan person, if you're a Nebraska fan, Michigan's got a true freshman quarterback. They chose not to have their head coach with them for this game, and all week of preparation and suspend more for this game and last week, not Oklahoma in the first game. And you have them on your home turf, and you can possibly be any fresher after the last two opponents you played. It is set up for Nebraska to win. I'm not going to say now or never, but it is set up for Nebraska to win. And I think those little intangibles give Nebraska the edge. If it was in Michigan, I'd pick Michigan. So I'm going to go Nebraska 24-21.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've got a 3-point game as well. And I'm kind of the same thing, man. I do think that crowd, the atmosphere, no coach being there, all of that is really big. If it was in Ann Arbor, I'd probably lean the other way by a field goal, kind of the same thing. Adam, I appreciate you a ton. Again, we'll link everything in the description, but thanks for hanging out, man, and good luck on Saturday.
Appreciate it.
All right, cool.